Hello fellow Titan Quest fans. This video is not about Titan Quest 2 news, but I address another topic here. What does the new game need to be great and a worthy successor of the legendary Titan Quest 1? Stay tuned for my suggestions on what the upcoming game needs in order to be perfect. From what I have seen so far in Titan Quest 2, the game needs some better death animations. If you kill a skeleton with a powerful blow, you want to see the bones flying off in all directions. That's how you know that your attack was effective, especially if the bones fly off the screen when you hit a very strong attack. The skeleton disintegrating into bones that fly off violently feels much more satisfying and fun opposed to the skeleton just collapsing into a pile of dust. That's how it looks in the demo version so far, and I'm not too happy about it. There's also that freeze animation that I spoke about in my last video. When you freeze a monster in Titan Quest 2 and kill it, it dies in a very unspectacular way by crumbling into small ice shards. The 18 years old Titan Quest 1 could pull off ragdoll bones and freeze death animations, and I expect Titan Quest 2 to follow suit. While we are at everyone's favorite topic, the topic of death animations, we need to speak about Ragdolls. We saw a little tiny bit of it in some demo footage. Please ignore that the spiders are clipping through the plants and the plants have visible priority over the spiders. In terms of Ragdolls, what I want to see is enemies being hit so hard that they fly out of their armor. This sounds almost cartoonish, but it was the case in Titan Quest 1 and that part of the game is super fun. In my previous video I asked you what you absolutely want in the game. You gave a lot of good answers and some of these will be mentioned in this video, in case I agree on them 100%. First, I would like to mention something that is very important to have included in Titan Quest 2. A stationary attack. What is that? Well, it's basically hitting the air. This is a quality of life improvement for ARPGs, because by binding it to your shift key, for example, you can now hit or shoot in the general direction of the enemies instead of clicking on them. There are so many players who don't know this. I have seen Titan Quest veterans clicking on monsters for decades before they learned that there's a big improvement on that. It also helps with casting some spells to an area far away sometimes. In the Titan Quest 2 version that I played myself at Gamescom, there was no such feature and you had to click on the monsters for an attack. You could hold click to continue attacking one monster, but once it died you had to click again. Holding the stationary attack button and holding the mouse button to continue attacking in every direction you want would have been so much better. Next up, let's talk about a suggestion from one of my dear viewers. To be specific, this one by the username oidaimonv. A little UI customization. UI meaning user interface. The commenter left a lot of other sensible comments with some very good ideas. User interface customization, in my interpretation, means that you can turn damage numbers on, rebind all keys and so on. It would also be nice to rebind the left and right mouse button. As it stands, Titan Quest 2 has the left mouse button not for attack, but only as a pointer where to run. The right click is the attack and spacebar is the dodge step. It would be awesome to also be able to customize that. Another topic is the auto pickup feature. It has been confirmed to be included in the early access, so we can pick up all the gold in the area without clicking on each gold individually. It would be also great to customize that, meaning to have the option to tell the game what exactly to pick up when you hit the auto pickup key. For example, some scrolls and gold, or only gold. The most important inclusion, at least for me, is that the game has decent tooltips. Now, what do I mean by that? It would be nice to have good explanations in-game on how the skills and mechanics exactly work. For instance, Titan Quest 1 kept its players in the dark with very vague tooltips. You had to do extensive testing to figure out what exactly the developers meant by their explanations. How does the damage scaling work? What determines a successful hit or a miss on an enemy? If a passive skill says it triggers on an attack, what is meant by that exactly? Just a basic attack or also abilities? A precise and extensive usage of tooltips make the game a lot better, especially for me, who is going to try out a lot of game mechanics. What I would like to see is tooltips of basically everything. If you hover over it, you get the explanation. For example, if you hover over your fire damage, you get a tooltip formula of how it's calculated. Another fan favorite are pets. I like them too, and I would love to see pets in the early access. There probably won't be any support for pet builds. Titan Quest 1 came initially with no support for pets and had that included only in a later DLC, Ragnarok. A whole list of affixes for all kinds of pet bonuses, which made pet builds very strong and especially safe. It seems that this will be the case for Titan Quest 2 as well. I'm sure some masteries will have a skill or two to summon pets, maybe only so that fragile caster builds can summon a tank pet. I could imagine that in some DLC for Titan Quest 2 they will include a whole new pet-based mastery, and with that DLC they release also items with pet bonus affixes. I also would love to get a Greek vibe from the game. There are some temples, statues and mythological beasts, as mentioned in Greek mythology, but it would be awesome to have a little more Greekness included in the game. For instance, a short sword is not called short sword as in every other ARPG, but it's actually called hthe. One of my viewers, hthe, mentioned this in my comments. Several weapon names such as Kopis or Falcata were already used in Titan Quest 1. Maybe in this old game they did it the right way and used some Greek names and also basic names like Longbow. In Titan Quest 2 the devs could also work with god shrines, for example. Remember how in TQ1 there were shrines that gave you bonuses temporarily? You could expand on that idea in the new game and, for example, have some shrines for Ares, who is the god of war, that gives you more fighting prowess, similar to the battle marker shrine in TQ1. Next up is an addition that I would absolutely love to see in the game. Enemies reacting to the player realistically. For every ARPG on the planet, it usually goes like this. The hero steps into the monster's aggro radius, and they just come at him if they are melee or start shooting if they are ranged. This is so boring, and today it should be possible to have some monster AI that makes them act realistically. If you are a ranged hero with a bow and you see two enemies in distance, you shoot at them and upon taking the first hit they just run towards you. A realistic approach would be that after the first monster dies after 2 to 3 hits, the other monster turns around and tries to hide from the arrows. Another instance of realistic combat would be if you fight a whole group of enemies with some basic grunt soldiers, one heavy unit and a healer. If you dash towards the healer first and start attacking him, the realistic approach would be that the healer runs away and tries preserving his own life. It would also be realistic to have melee monsters surround you and archers taking position and then shooting you, while healers prioritize their own safety. The developers said that they want to program a combat doctrine for each monster faction, but so far I have not seen too much of it. There's this one dude hopping away, but that's all I have seen of monsters doing anything else than attacking when the hero enters their aggro range. Next up, I want a decent endgame a la TQ1, not the endgame that a Path of Exile player speaks of. They mean that you start as a bozo hero, and when maxed out you become a god that teleports across the map and nukes everything continuously. I don't mean that spamfest endgame, but a moderate endgame where you still feel super powerful as a maxed out hero, but not too powerful. For Titan Quest 1 this was relatively easy. For some mastery combinations you didn't even need any specific items, or even good items for that matter. Your right combination of skills basically defeated every monster in sight. With the perfect items and right skill usage, your character became super powerful. This satisfaction of having created a powerful hero was what keeps me going in Titan Quest 1 endgame. Even to this day, before the early access comes out, I create 1 to 2 endgame builds daily, and I never get tired of this game. For Titan Quest 2 the possibilities are even a lot higher than that, which will have a good replay value and also hopefully a good endgame. Last but not least, we need the ability to sell and buy items fast. You don't want to drag the items you don't want over to the vendor's inventory and drop them there. Rather just right click them to auto sell as in Titan Quest 1. The purchase of healing potions was also well made in TQ1. You could press the left and right mouse button in rapid succession to buy tons of potions fast. This might not sound like a big change, but trust me on this one, you will buy potions more often than you would think. Okay, that's everything that I would love to have included in the early access. Let me know your opinions in the comments. Do you agree with my picks, or is there anything else that you would like to have prioritized? In any case, thanks for watching, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.